All right. So, most of you guys that have been following my fragrance journey at some point in time have heard me talk about the beginning of my fragrance journey. In a lot of ways, in the last couple years, my fragrance journey has really started to develop. I think there's points in everyone's life where we like to believe that life is just a progression, right, of learning and discovery and transformation, but in different areas of our life, that's not the case. Sometimes things go mute, dormant, on pause, and that was like me in fragrance, man. I think the earliest time I had a fragrance was like high school. I think even before that, my first experiences with fragrances was like going into the 99-cent store and getting a Jordache, which was like I don't even know if it was real or fake, but it was like Michael Jordan cologne. They had like 2 or 3 different variations. And I think Cool Water actually had some knockoff versions that made it in that inventory, you know, when I went into the dollar store and different shops like that. But yeah, my fragrance journey, as far as the intentionality behind it, started around, I would say, middle school into high school. I've only had like 5 fragrances starting out, and that was all I had. I think I had Gucci, like an original, maybe a Gucci Pour Homme or a Gucci Guilty. I forget how early that fragrance came on the scene. I had Acqua di Gio Armani Eau de Toilette, had Curve probably, Nautica Voyage, Lacoste Red, I think it's called Style and Play now. Not that many scents, but that was like a lot for me back then because I only had like 1 or 2 that I would wear often depending on what season I was in. And then this fragrance right here. Don't remember how I got it. It may have been something my mom got for me as a freshman in high school. Maybe I bought it by scrapping up some money because I was always going to the mall back then. They had this place here called Arizona Mills. I used to get dropped off there and just hang out at the mall all day. I knew some girls that worked in the different pizza places and Chinese spots, and I would either be in there at some of the sports utility stores shooting hoops, stealing candy out of the candy shops, eating a slice of pizza, talking to some girls I knew from the skate rink back in the day. They'd give me a free slice of pizza or some kind of food and drink. I would go to GameWorks and play in the arcade all day I'd make $10 feel like a day pass in a GameWorks. And, or I would catch a movie and just stay in the theater all day, watch movies back to back to back. As soon as I was done with one movie, I would just look at the screenings, go into another movie. I'd be there all day, catch the bus home or have somebody pick me up. And I did that much more as a young kid than when I got into high school, but that's kind of like my old stomping ground days. And when I would do that, I'd be rocking that 99-cent fragrances and stuff like that. And but then when I got into high school, started taking things a little bit more seriously. But I think I always saw cologne either in magazines with samples. You guys remember the little scratch and sniff type joints. And, you know, occasionally being in like a department store and seeing fragrances. And then when I got into high school, I actually started, you know, picking a couple up. My mom would get me one for Christmas or something like that. This fragrance right here, Marc Jacobs For Men by Marc Jacobs. The fragrance came out in 2002, I want to say. So right around the time I would have been transitioning from middle school into high school. I think I started high school in like 2003, 2004. And I remember getting it right around release, as far as like recollecting, like thinking back. This fragrance is a fall winter scent. It is a seductive scent, classy scent. In a lot of ways, it's the precursor fragrance to things like La Nuit de l'Homme, Mugler. I think fragrances like Coromandel and Cedrat Boisé and Nichane Ani, stuff like that. And even stuff like Dolce & Gabbana The One, you know, just a cold weather, seductive, classy, intimate fragrance. But surprisingly, unlike something like La Nuit de l'Homme, this thing has decent performance. It's not just a Netflix and chill or close fur coat type of scent. It can have some push to it. It's not the most incredible performance, but I remember putting this on and it going all through class, or if I went out on the weekends, it would take me through the night. I think it has notes of, I mean, it's one of those fragrances that has like 30 notes in it. I mean, it's got ginger, cardamom, cumin, I think some vanilla, benzoin, fig leaf. There's just a ton of stuff in this. But yeah, think La Nuit de l'Homme, kind of this woody green fragrance with intimate touches. Strong woody, slight vanillic, spiced, greened, dressed up to perfection. It's a complex, woody, sensual scent. Now, all that stuff aside, guys, this is not gonna be a review about the technical breakdown of this fragrance. The reason I kind of precursor this story time with you is that, believe it or not, I knew nothing of what I'm telling you guys about this fragrance now. Not when it was released, not the note breakdown, the season to wear it, the setting and the occasion. When I tell you I wore this fragrance in the daytime, out of the gym. Now, in some ways, not as much as fragrances like Gucci and Acqua di Gio and Curve and stuff like that. But nonetheless, I didn't need a reason to wear that. Now, I did kind of see it as like my date night or nightlife go-to, but nonetheless, like there were many, 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 many days where I would wear that to class or wear that out of the gym. Anytime I wanted to wear it, there was no real discretion or evaluation period or like application for fragrance in my life. I wore what I wanted to wear, and I wore this a lot because it just felt sophisticated, intimate, and as a young guy liking girls, wanting to feel like a man, the complexity and intimacy of this scent just always felt appropriate for my little ambitious teenage heart. You know what I'm saying? It just complemented where I wanted to go in life. I didn't know anything about this fragrance, guys. Nothing. And I knew nothing about perfumery in general. In a lot of ways, I'm envious of how free I was with this fragrance. This is still an original juice from 2002. As you guys can see maybe in the camera, there's maybe 30-40% of it left. Obviously, I had some bit of wisdom in me because I wasn't wearing it enough to kill the bottle. So that tells me I was probably learning quickly that this was like a date night, cold weather, fall, winter type of scent. But in Arizona, fall, winter means nothing. You know, you get like 2-3 cold months out of the year. But yeah, I knew nothing about anything I'm talking about today in fragrance. I knew I liked to smell good when I wanted to smell good. This was a great option. And I have a lot of memories with this scent. I wore it on many date nights, many parties, many times in class, just feeling like the man when I put this on. You know, I didn't know where this fragrance stood in the fragrance community or in perfumery, if it got any awards or compared to the other designers, where it sat as far as ranking. I looked it up recently on Fragrantica. It had like a 4.1 out of 5. So apparently it's a classic, you know, as far as I'm concerned. But I again, at the time, I knew nothing about this fragrance, but it was my road dog. And again, I'm envious of how free I was in just the simplicity of, I like how it smells. I want to use this in my life. It made me feel good just wearing it. It made me feel empowered. It made me feel ambitious, like moving into manhood. It was sophisticated, so it made me think out of the box, you know, like if I'm gonna be a man, what's a man look like? And the scent is a part of it, but what else can I do to become more of a man? It made me think through how I was gonna approach girls, thinking through like, well, I know I might smell good, but what am I gonna say to this girl, you know? Or, man, holidays coming around, Christmas or Thanksgiving or any of these festivities, if I'm gonna put this on, you know, I think it's gonna match my vibe well and complement a space. Just completely free with this fragrance, as well as the other 4 or 5 that I mentioned earlier. And so I wanted to make this memoir, I wanted to pivot off of the memoir and go to this topic, which is that in FragCom, and as we start to get things like a collection and we start to learn about notes and longevity and performance and season and blah, 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 blah. These are kind of community aspirations, a shared community understanding. These are loose truths that we hold to for the purpose of being intentional with fragrance and progressing it as an art, as an expression. But at the end of the day, when I was wearing this fragrance so improperly, according to FragCom, no one ever stopped me and said, man, why are you wearing this in Arizona in 110-degree heat? Or, you know, if I was taking a girl out to lunch, she wouldn't say to me, well, why didn't you take that fragrance and wear it at night? Why are you wearing a fragrance like that during the day? Or, man, you're out of season with this. Or, man, that fragrance is too complex. This, you know, smelling this scent now, let me just spray it in the air if I can find the nozzle. Smelling a fragrance like this today, oh, it's so good. Oh, I have so many memories with this. Smelling a fragrance like this today makes me realize that I was punching way above my weight class, meaning 15, 16-year-old kid had no business wearing a fragrance like that. And yet nobody put me in check to that. You know, in a lot of ways, thank God I didn't have FragCom around telling me how to wear this scent. And because of that, my only memories with this fragrance, despite not knowing a single thing about how to be intentional with fragrance and not even knowing my identity in connection with fragrance, just that I love the good smells, gave me several years of an incredible experience. I wore that my freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year, freshman and sophomore year of college, and around mid to late college, I stopped wearing it because at that point, I'm starting to acquire different scents and move on. But even when I acquired a couple different fragrances, those took me all the way to like my 30s. Like, so going into high school around 14, 15, I had the same fragrances all the way until my 30s. And you know, I'm 36 now. My fragrance journey is really just getting started as of the last like 3 to 5 years ago, in an intense way. I've only owned 5 fragrances my whole life. Because nobody was, you know, the politics weren't there, all the information wasn't there, and I was naive to it. I had a pure, awesome experience with nothing but great memories with that fragrance. And maybe I wore it on some bad days or something. Maybe it's the reason why I didn't get that date or that phone number or something at a point in time, but I wouldn't know. No one told me. All I have is great memories with this. And I think I also wore this fragrance a lot. You know, I didn't have seasons and reasons and all this stuff. So I really got to understand what it did to my mood, what it did to the environment, how well it worked with people, how people responded to it, how my family responded to it. I got a lot of feedback. So I think without even knowing, I was building a connection with this fragrance, and this fragrance was speaking back to me, and the people that it was affecting were giving me feedback, and I tailored it despite not having the knowledge, making it really be something special in my life. And so I'm so glad I still have, you know, some solid juice back, because even just smelling the scent takes me right back to my teenage years and my college years. And so these memoirs, I don't rehearse, I don't think about them. I look at a fragrance I set it on the table. You and I don't know what I'm gonna say, even now. So I can't say I particularly know where I'm going with all of this. I just am reflecting on the memoirs of a fragrance, you know, the things that, the accounts that I have with it, the information, the learning, the stories, the history, all of that good stuff. But I think there's something to be said about that, because I think in the fragrance world today, with collectors specifically, we get in this number counting game where we don't truly intimately know a fragrance. I mean, we're getting to the point now where off of a test strip, we think we understand a fragrance. Not just whether or not we like it or don't like it, but, oh yeah, the ginger stands out or the basil stands out, but no, the vanilla's not really there. And it's like, the fragrance hasn't even transitioned, it hasn't sat down. You don't know anything about the house or what to expect from the composition. We're just happy mealing our way through fragrances. We own a fragrance, we have a good time with it, then we throw it on the shelf, and now we're impatient and we want to get another experience and another experience and another experience. When you could have a million experiences packed into one of your bottles that you're just missing out on. So I think as much as, and guys, I'm the most nerdiest guy when it comes to fragrances. You know, I have an insane collection, and I'm very intentional, and I'm thoughtful, and I'm scientific with it, and I'm historical with it, and all that jazz. But sometimes I like to just sit back and really learn. That's what this channel is. I'm learning, I'm putting a camera on myself, and you get to see what's going on in my head. I'm not really trying to educate. I'm just seeing value and sharing value that things I'm already enjoying. I would be doing this if the camera was off. This is my life. So I don't know what the message is in this. Maybe it's just something like, think about the fragrances that got you excited about this thing, you know, called FragCom. Think about wearing your fragrances more and not judging them so quickly. Have an open mind with fragrances you think you don't like. If there's any kind of allure to it at all, give it a full day. Give it 2 days, give it as many opportunities as it can to communicate with you. Those of you who've seen one of my viral shorts, you know, I compare owning a fragrance or trying a fragrance to jumping on a bus and sitting next to a stranger. They might look a certain way, and you might already have a prejudgment, and then you get to talking to them and you hit it off and you wind up exchanging numbers and becoming lifelong friends. And you look back at that moment and go, man, I never would have thought I sat down next to my best friend or my fiance, or just a cool person that uplifted my day. That's how fragrance is. You'd be shocked how much it can speak to you and how much value there is beyond a test strip, beyond a first wear experience, beyond a 1 week experience. I have so many memories with this fragrance because I sat with it for so long. And when you sit with something for a long time, you know the ins and outs, you know how to push the fragrance, you know, you discover new ways to use it. It's a connection, and that connection is only as deep as you allow it to be. And so that's what this reminder is like, at the end of the day, we have these checklists and these things and these objectives, and we're trying to build a collection, and we think we understand ourselves. Fragrances kind of show us who we are as well. The fact that we're constantly changing human beings, that everything isn't black and white. When you can learn to sit and wrestle in the nuance, that's where you can transform, and you can learn, and you can have a change of heart, or you can be affirmed in things that you already believe and know and are interested in. Be patient, guys, with fragrance. Give it time. If you don't have a lot of fragrances, I hope you see my story of this fragrance and how many memories I got from it, and just know that one bottle could give you a lifetime of memories. So don't feel like, oh, I have 3 or 4 bottles, I don't have much, I don't have diversity. You don't need it. Take your time. This is a luxury and a gift to us. And I think that's what this fragrance means for me and I'm glad I still have the juice from it, because it's amazing how the juice, you smell it and it just takes you back, and it blooms these memories and these thoughts and this energy and these emotions. But yeah, this is a great fragrance nonetheless, guys. Get your nose on it. Marc Jacobs For Men by Marc Jacobs. I think it's an eau de toilette. Just look at the bottle and do your little research and find it. It's a goodie.